Many people suspect that Jesus would be horrified if he came back today and saw what his movement has turned into. If he saw the wealth of some of the biggest churches and how much poverty and oppression still goes on, and how Christianity has been used as an excuse to start wars, wouldn't he be heartbroken? The poet Adrian Mitchell once wrote a poem about the crucifixion which ended like this: "But you can't see Christ for priests. That's what happens when a poet spawns generations of advertising men." In other words, Jesus was a poet whose mysterious words were inspiring, but now they've been marketed to death and used to make money for all sorts of unscrupulous advertising men who have just cashed in on what Jesus started.
And you need to make a vow of faith of $1,000. Oh, Bob, couldn't you say 25? No! You can't make a $1,000 vow of faith. I'm saying in faith.
Yes, Jesus would intensely dislike a lot of what goes on in the name of Christianity, and believers think he really does. But you can't get away from the evidence that Jesus really did intend to start a movement, and he really did believe its impact would be global. Unlike lots of other religious teachers of his day, he wasn't just concerned with his own country. He had read the Old Testament prophets, and he knew that they talked about a worldwide impact for God's Messiah. He would be the one whose kingdom of peace would extend to the ends of the earth. And so Jesus seems to have told his followers to go into all the world and proclaim his good news. After his death, although some of them had assumed he'd really only meant Jewish communities in all the world, it soon became obvious that his message was equally popular with non-Jews, and so the church began to spread. Today, when it exists in every country on earth and is growing faster than ever before, the Christian church is pretty much doing what Jesus expected. Indeed, just a short while before he was arrested and hustled through his trial, Jesus is supposed to have said to his opponents, "I have other sheep who belong in a different sheepfold. They must be brought home too." Many of the stories he told centred around people who thought they had God's special favour, but didn't, and were in the end replaced by those whom they'd rejected. Jesus loved his Jewish heritage, but he didn't see it as exclusive. Everybody counted with God. He understood very clearly that if you're going to change the world decisively, you need changed people. And so from the very start of his work, his teaching was designed to make people different in their marriages, in their relationships at work, in the way they use their money and possessions. He was setting up a radical new kingdom, an invisible one, yet it affected every single area of human life in a practical way. At first, this remarkable new style of living amazed the pagans who witnessed it. Pliny, for example, was a Roman governor who was commanded by the emperor to stamp out Christianity. He arrested lots of Christians, and he marvelled that Christians take binding oaths not to commit crimes together, but making promises not to commit fraud, theft or adultery, nor break their word, nor to back down on a deal when called upon to do so. He thought it was a depraved, excessive superstition, but he couldn't deny the moral power of the Christians' lives. And he's just one of the many witnesses we have. 300 years later, Christianity had spread so far and become so popular that the new emperor Constantine made it the state religion of the empire. And that's when the trouble really started, because Christian faith suddenly became a career path to power in the empire, and all sorts of ambitious people started attaching themselves to it who didn't have a clue about Jesus' real intentions. The radical new lifestyle slipped into the background a bit, and the official church quickly became powerful, wealthy, and corrupted. But despite that, in every generation, real Christians have preserved Jesus' message and have lived in obedience to the radical new kingdom and have spread Jesus' good news all over the world. The movement Jesus expected, designed, and planned for is still doing well.